Imagine it's the year 1450. You are not in a theater with velvet curtains and polished wooden floors. Instead, you are standing in the middle of a town square. Suddenly, a cart rolls in, brightly painted, noisy, and full of performers. The town's blacksmiths, tailors, and the bakers are not selling their goods today. They are the actors, and they are about to perform the creation of the world and the crucifixion of Christ right before your eyes. This was the theatre of medieval England, performed not by professional actors but by ordinary citizens, not in a playhouse but in a marketplace, and not for entertainment alone but to teach, to inspire, and to bind communities together. So today we will step back into that world and trace the fascinating journey of medieval drama, from its birth inside the church to the bustling streets filled with mystery, miracle, and morality plays. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. I am Dr. Riya Datto and I am trying to cover syllabus of UGC NET in English. If that is something of importance to you, consider subscribing. This is episode 3 of UGC NET English syllabus. So without further ado, let us begin the lecture. The Middle Ages, as you know, spans roughly from the 5th century, after the fall of the Roman Empire, to the late 15th century, when the Renaissance began to dawn. This was a world where church stood at the very center of the life. It dictated not only the spiritual matter, but also education, morality, and to some extent entertainment. Now what is interesting is that theatre has been thriving at one time at Roman Empire, but the early church fathers condemned the Roman theatre, seeing it as immoral, pagan, and dangerously secular. And so for a time drama was all but disappeared in England. Yet theatre never dies, it transforms. By the 10th century, drama was reborn, and this time within the church itself. The church realized that it had a problem. Most people were illiterate, hence unable to read the Bible or understand the Latin liturgy. How could you teach the complex doctrines of sin, death, resurrection, salvation to a congregation that does not read? The answer was drama. Performance could make the invisible visible. It could embody the mysteries of faith in a way that sermons alone could not do. The earliest medieval dramas were liturgical drama. They were brief, simple enactments inserted into the church services. A famous early example is Quem querelitis tro, which means whom do you seek? Imagine an Easter service in the 10th century. A group of clergy dressed as three Marys approaches Christ's tomb. Another priest dressed as an angel asks the question, whom do you seek in the sepulchre? The women reply, Jesus of Nazareth. The angel announces, he is not here, he has risen as he has foretold. That short dialogue, sung rather than spoken, was in essence the seed of English drama. At first, such performances were entirely in Latin, using chant and gesture performed by the clergy within the limitation of the church. But as centuries passed, they grew more elaborate. Props were added, an actual tomb, costumes, and even a machinery to show that the angels are actually descending from heaven. What began as liturgical ritual began to come closer and closer to the actual theatre. By 12th centuries, these plays became so elaborate that the church could not contain them. The growing enthusiasm of public means larger crowd, and the performances eventually spilled out in the courtyard and then marketplaces. Another important change happened. Latin was replaced by the vernacular. Plays were now written and performed in English so that the ordinary men and women could understand them. This was the turning point. Because drama once left the church building and entered the marketplace, it ceased to be controlled solely by the priests. Instead, the responsibility of staging passed to the hands of guilds and town authorities. Drama became a public and communal event. The most spectacular expression of this communal event was the cycle of the mystery plays. The word mystery here does not mean hidden or secret. It comes from the Latin word mysterium, means craft or trade. Why? Because these plays were organized and staged by the guilds, the associations of tradesmen in the medieval England. The bakers had their guilds, the shipwrights theirs, and the blacksmiths theirs. And each guild would take responsibility of one play in the cycle. For instance, in York cycle, the shipwrights performed the play of Noah's Ark. It made perfect sense because shipwrights built boats. The bakers might perform the Last Supper because bread was central to that story. In this way, the entire community became involved in this cycle. Mystery plays were not purely solemn. They mixed the sacred with the comic. Imagine a scene where Noah tries to get his wife on the ark, but she refuses, scolding him and demanding her friends to be on board. Before finally being dragged in, the audience would laugh, yet the moral lesson would still be there. This combination of entertainment and teaching was the hallmark of medieval theatre. Closely related to the mystery plays were the miracle plays, which told the stories of saints rather than biblical events. This plays dramatizes their life, death, and the miracles performed by the men and women. For example, a play might recount the martyrdom of Saint Catherine or the miracle of Saint Nicholas. Though less common than the mystery plays, they serve the same purpose: to inspire faith through vivid storytelling. By the 15th century, a new form emerged: the morality plays. Unlike mysteries or miracle plays, morality plays were not drawn from the Bible or the lives of the saints. Instead, they were the allegories of human souls' struggle between good and evil. Characters were not people but personifications like virtue, death, vice, good deeds, knowledge, purity. The most famous morality play is Every Man. In it, death summons every man to give an account before God. Everyone seeks companions for this journey. Fellowship, kindred, joy, but all abandoned him. Only good deeds remain. The moral is unmistakable. When death comes, only goodness of your actions will accompany you. Morality plays mark an important shift. They show drama being moved from strictly biblical retellings to a theme of human experience. They paved the way for Renaissance drama, where psychology, choice, and personal preferences became the central theme. What did these plays look like in performance? They were grand spectacles, often staged during the festivals like Corpus Christi. The town became a theatre. Wagons rolled from street to street, or fixed stages were set up in marketplace. Costumes were elaborate. God might wear gilded robe, devils had horns, tail, and red paint on, while angels gleamed in white with wings. Special effects, primitive but efficient, shocked the audience. Trapdoor might open to reveal the fire of hell. Fireworks and smoke created heavenly visions. Even mechanical devices were used. For example, a rope and a pulley to pull Christ into heaven for the Ascension plays. And remember, the actors were ordinary town people, not the professionals. Performing was an act of devotion as well as community pride. As England moved into 16th century, the Reformation brought suspicion towards such a drama. Protestant authorities saw them as too Catholic, too elaborate, even too superstitious. By the late 1500s, mystery and miracle plays were suppressed. Yet, their legacies lived on. The morality plays' use of allegory influenced the Renaissance dramatists. The spectacle, the combination of comic and tragic tones, the involvement of community, all of them together built a stage on which Shakespeare and his contemporaries would later build more. So when we think of Shakespearean stage, we must remember that it was built on centuries of performance legacy. The wagons of York, the saints of miracle plays, the allegories of every man. Medieval England was the soil on which English drama took its root. To conclude, medieval theatre was more than just entertainment. It was a mirror of society's faith, values, and fears. It began humbly within the liturgy, blossomed into the great cycle of mystery and miracle plays, and then evolved into moral allegories of the late Middle Ages. Along the way, it brought whole communities together, turning town square into a sacred stage. If Shakespeare is the crown of theatre, medieval English drama is the root. And without understanding the wagons that rolled into York and Chester, we cannot fully appreciate the grandeur of the Globe Theatre in London. Thank you for watching. I hope this lecture was helpful. And for more videos like this, keep an eye on my channel and consider subscribing. Bye bye.